And we're live. Good Tuesday afternoon, good Tuesday evening. It is Tuesday, April 9th, 2019. I'm Dave Guerra, and this is Let's Have a Chat. And tonight's topic is Tuesday, so that means it's in the news. Talk about things in the news and their impact on leadership and how people interpret what's going on. And, well, basically, just the leadership aspect of stuff that's going on in the news. A lot of stuff, again, still in the news. A lot of things happening. Things are unfolding. The college admission scandal, they went to court today. Kudos. Nobody had to get extradited in or anything like that. Nobody had to skip bail. They didn't have to call Dog the bounty hunter, have him come get those people. But, at least they're stepping up. So, they get what they get because they put themselves in that situation. So that's that on that. But what I want to talk about and what I mentioned here is the VA, the Veterans Administration, has a lot of explaining to do. This past weekend in the state of Georgia, 2 veterans committed suicide at the hospital, at the VA hospital. And this is coming from the Army Times. The Army Times, it's not an official newspaper of the United States Army. It means the United States Army doesn't put it out, but it's the newspaper geared and focusing on the U.S. Army and what's going on with that. So in the news article, 2 Georgia veterans died by suicide at VA hospitals this past weekend. J.D. Simpkins is the author. 2 veterans in Georgia took their own lives this past weekend in separate incidents, each in front of a Veterans Affairs facility. The first incident occurred Friday in a parking lot outside the Carl Vinson Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Dublin, Georgia. The second occurred just 1 day later, reportedly involving a 68-year-old who shot himself outside the Atlanta VA Medical Center, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported. The VA has not released the identities of those involved or any additional details of the incident. Quote, "This incident remains under investigation and we are working with local investigating authorities," end quote. An email from the VA obtained by the AJC, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, said, and the quote resumes, "The family has been contacted and offered support," end quote. The family's been contacted and offered support. Shouldn't the support have come before this? The 2 suicides signal a continuation of an alarming trend of veterans taking their own lives on VA campuses. Between October 2017 and November 2018, 19 veterans died by suicide on the grounds of VA medical facilities, according to a report from the Washington Post. Many believe these grisly incidents are final acts of protest by former service members who feel the country they serve turned its back on them. In December, Marine Colonel Jim Turner, 55, put on a service uniform, drove to the Bay Pines Department of Veterans Affairs, and shot himself outside the medical center. Investigators discovered a note next to his body. Quote, "I bet if you look at the 22 suicides a day, you will see the VA screwed up in 90%, end quote. It read, the note next to his body read. Georgia, meanwhile, has experienced its share of gruesome forms of protest. In addition to the 2 suicides this past weekend, in June, 58-year-old John Michael Watts of Mableton, Georgia, set himself on fire outside the Georgia State Capitol building in downtown Atlanta to protest insufficient treatment by the VA. Watts stood outside the Capitol building with fireworks strapped to his body before dousing himself with a flammable liquid and self-immolating. As the nightmarish scene unfolded, a nearby police officer rushed to the veteran with a fire extinguisher in hand to smother the inferno. Watts was subsequently rushed to the hospital with burns to 85 to 90% of his body. He died less than a week later. Can you imagine that pain? Suicide prevention, quote, here's a good one. Quote, "Suicide prevention is the VA's highest clinical priority," end quote, a VA statement said in response to the 2 recent incidents. Quote, "We are working alongside dozens of partners to deploy suicide prevention programming that supports all current and former service members, even those who do not come to the VA for care," end quote. Despite the proclaimed prioritization, the VA came under intense scrutiny in December when a Government Accountability Office study revealed of its $6.2 million budget to use on suicide prevention media outreach, only $57,000 was spent. Additionally, sharing information about suicide prevention on social media reportedly dropped significantly between fiscal year 17 and fiscal year 19. During that same time span, not one VA-produced suicide prevention message or advertisement was aired on a national television or radio. At the time when 20 veterans a day still die by suicide, VA should be doing everything in its power to inform the public about the resources available to veterans in crisis. Representative Tim Waltz, Democrat, Minnesota, said in December. Unfortunately, quote, unfortunately, VA has failed to do that despite claiming the elimination of veteran suicide as its highest clinical priority, end quote. From 2015 to 2016, the rate of suicides for veterans between the ages of 18 and 34 increased over 10% to 45 per 100,000. And these are figures released by the VA. That rate remains the highest of any age group. Folks, I'm a veteran, and it's tough, it's rough, because they train us to be the best that we can be, you know, to reference their line. They train us and they train us to become how does the song go? To become a specialist with a deadly skill. That's how the song goes. They do everything to get us to accomplish the mission, and I see that. They make leaders. They make great leaders. This nation has the greatest leaders because of the military. But the one thing they never did when I left the military, not even a handshake, not even a good luck. Nothing to transition out, and that's where the disconnect is. It's in that transition out. It's in coping with the rejections. It's with understanding that, hey, at one point in our lives, we were responsible for lives of men and millions of dollars of equipment, and yet the best we can do sometimes is get a job as a substitute teacher. If that. The leadership has to step up. We as veterans have to step up. We have to be accountable, not just to ourselves, but also to our fellow veterans. So as this veteran is out there, and whoever's watching, whether you're watching live or you're watching post, whoever's watching, understand that, hey, there is a solution. There's an answer. There's someone who's going to listen to you. And understand that that's what they're there for. Yeah, the VA might not be helping everybody. The VA might not be helping anybody. I don't know. From what I've read, they're just exacerbating the situation. They're making the situation worse. But you know what? We still have to answer to ourselves. We're the ones that need to pick up, ruck up, and move out. We're the ones that need to keep doing it every single day. We did it then. We can still do it now. So let's do whatever it takes to not become another statistic. Let's do what it takes to not let our brothers and sisters in arms not become another statistic. Let's do our best to help each other, because, hey, it's obvious they don't want to help us. We have to help ourselves. It's just that's just the way it is. And in life, you know, they tell you, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. But that's why we joined the military, because we have somebody on our right, we have somebody on our left. And, you know, that's good to know. And you still do. That's the thing. You still do. So make that call. Call a buddy. Call a friend. Check in on them. And if you need to make a call, make that call. Those calls are out there. Look up the Veteran Crisis Hotline. It's out there. Folks, this is nonsense. This is getting out of control, and we need to stop this. So let's step up. Let's be the leaders we know we are, and let's do something about this. Listen, I'm out here. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. But in the meantime, get out there, make the call. Check in on a buddy, and you make the call yourself if you need to. I'll talk to y'all later.